New Deal. A series of reforms created by the Franklin Roosevelt administration with the goal of ending the Great Depression. Franklin D. Roosevelt, 32nd president, only president to serve 4 terms, created the New Deal during his first 100 days in office to help the country get out of the Great Depression. Fireside Chats. The Fireside Chats were a series of 30 evening radio addresses given by Franklin Roosevelt between 1933 and 1944 in order to explain his policies, programs, and actions to the public. Brain Trust. Many of the advisors who helped Roosevelt after he entered the White House. 100 days. 100 days after FDR was sworn into office, Congress passed into law more major legislation than any single Congress in history. Emergency Banking Act. All the banks were ordered to close until new laws could be passed. It required the Treasury Department to inspect banks before they could reopen. Emergency Banking Relief Act. 1933 gave the President power over the banking system and set up a system by which banks would be reorganized or reopened. Economy Act. Cut the pay of all government workers by 15%, saving $1 billion. Glass-Steagall Act. Separated investment banking from commercial banking so people who did not play the stock market would not lose their money. Alphabet agencies. A range of organizations run by the government to help create the New Deal. Civilian Conservation Corps. The CCC provided employment to young men by sending them to camps in national parks and forests, plant trees, build reservoirs, etc. Agricultural Adjustment Act. Paid farmers to reduce the amount of crops livestock produced in hopes of raising crop livestock prices. NIRA. The National Industrial Recovery Act was a law passed by the United States Congress in 1933 to authorize the President to regulate industry in an attempt to raise prices after severe deflation and stimulate economic recovery. National Recovery Administration. Government agency that was part of the New Deal and dealt with the industrial sector of the economy. It allowed industries to create fair competition, which were intended to reduce destructive competition and to help workers by setting minimum wages and maximum weekly hours and bargain collectively. Public Works Administration. 1935 created for both industrial recovery and for unemployment relief. It aimed at long-range recovery and spent $4 billion on thousands of projects that included public buildings, airports, highways, and parks. Securities and Exchange Commission. Monitors the stock market and enforces laws regulating the sale of stocks and bonds. Wagner Act. Second New Deal established National Labor Relations Board, protected the rights of most workers in the private sector to organize labor unions, to engage in collective bargaining, and to take part in strikes and other forms of concerted activity in support of their demands. Social Security Act. created a pension for the elderly and unemployment insurance paid for by taking taxes out of payroll taxes and paychecks. Works Progress Administration. Second New Deal. The WPA was authorized in 1935 with the intent of raising employment on useful projects. It focused on improving society, many times by building infrastructure, built roads, buildings, airports, bridges, parks. Court Packing Plan. A way for FDR to put judges favorable to the New Deal on the Supreme Court. This would allow FDR power within the judicial branch as well as the executive branch of the government. Fair Labor Standards Act. Second New Deal, 1938, established a national minimum wage, more job protections for workers, established a 40-hour workweek, banned child labor under 14 and prohibited most employment of minors in hazardous working conditions. Deficit spending. When a government practice of spending more than is taken in from taxes. Frances Perkins, U.S. Secretary of Labor from 1933 to 1945 and the first woman ever appointed to the cabinet. Eleanor Roosevelt, FDR's wife and New Deal supporter, was a great supporter of civil rights. Tennessee Valley Authority. A New Deal agency created to generate electric power and control floods in a 7 U.S. state region around the Tennessee River Valley. It created many dams that provided electricity as well as jobs. Rural Electrification Administration. Affordable electricity would improve the standard of living of the family farm, created to bring electricity to rural areas like the Tennessee Valley. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation provides government insurance of bank deposits up to a specific amount.